One more what?
I got one more scene for you. You should sit down. I'm gonna send you home with a present. I'm gonna send you home with something to think about. Sit down.
I'm gonna need to be sitting for this.
So, remember what Tanja said about setting intentions?
Uh-huh.
And then it goes, oh, okay, fine. This showed up in February, and I've been hanging on to it because I had a bit of a meltdown because I thought somebody who had seen Hellier was fucking with us.
What?
Because this happened the day he went to North Carolina.
The night before.
You know
Literally
about
the
this?
intention of going to North.
I called him up and I said, somebody fucking saw Hellier.
Listen.
Somebody fucking saw Hellier.
Start with just give him the emails.
It's taken a dark turn.
I just received 2 visitors carrying some devastating news. Indrid Cold, age 92, Demo Hassan, and Karl Ardo died today. When I have more information, I will pass it along. Obit posted soon.
What? What the fuck?
Did she ever post an obit?
She never posted an obit.
Nothing.
And she is still online,
Right.
but this was shared on her little page for her book that she wrote. Then she says that she's writing a new book that will be out before Christmas 2018 called Indrid Cold, Man or Myth.
Connor tells us that according to Woodrow Derenberger's daughter, the last real connection to Indrid Cold, that Indrid Cold is dead.
It was a shock, and I think that shock exists because if Indrid was such a vital part to this search, this journey, what did that mean for us? What did that mean for the rest of this research? Were the synchronicities going to stop? Was the search over? Was the message that we may have been relaying to somebody else pointless? If Terry Rist was trying to contact him or send a message for him, did it all end? And that was a mystery we needed to get to the bottom of.
We could go talk to her if we wanted to. She's she's a nice old lady, who received 2 mysterious visitors who stopped in at her home and said that they died.
I'm actually sad about that.
Yeah.
That seriously, that bums me out.
Yeah.
But what is it? Yeah, what is that?
We obviously have to question her story and her dad's story, but
For sure.
if there's anybody that they're going to be in contact with, that they're going to stop, it's like the military stopping in or something. Just being like, hey, it's a family friend, he did pass away. And it's like, that, in a weird way, it doesn't seem that far-fetched.
No.
That was not the news I was expecting to hear. Connor had some big information for us, and he refused to give it to us until we were all sitting down together. But the idea that Indrid Cold might be dead was a weird twist. It was unusual information. And to be coming from a good source, too. It was coming from the daughter of the first person that allegedly met Indrid Cold. That's hard info. That's something that we can go talk to her about.
And for all of these people in the world that know about this, he's gained a mythos, a figure about him, but nobody's paying attention to her.
Yeah, that's so strange.
Yeah, and it's almost kind of sad, you know, where it's like I'm
She
a little
has
bit
actual connection by blood to the case.
She met the man.
Yeah.
Supposedly.
Right.
And they were friends, and not good friends, but they were in contact. They would check in. She said that they had very basic family friend sort of relationship. Now, she is out there, and it's like, I wonder if she's just sitting there like thinking that nobody's listening to her stuff. And there's all these people on, you know, there's like Redditors claiming crazy stories or scary stories with Indrid Cold. The grinning man, he gained this mythos, and it's like, no, this is the OGs. This is the family, you know?
Like, yeah, she's
exactly.
Where's her
Parkersburg. She's still in the same neighborhood, same town.
It's literally a 3.5 hour drive.
We are here to talk to a man that allegedly did make contact with such an object within the Parkersburg area last evening, November the 2nd, 1966, at approximately 7:25 p.m.
Last night, shortly after 7 o'clock, I was coming from Marietta, Ohio, coming down Interstate 77. And just before I came to the intersection of Route 47, there was a car past me, overtaking me from behind, and following closely behind this car was this unidentified flying object. And as the car behind passed me, this object was following close behind it, and it swerved directly in front of my truck, turning crosswise. As soon as I had stopped, there was a door opened in the side of this vehicle, and this man stepped out and came directly to me, or came to the truck. He walked to the right-hand side of the truck, and he told me to roll down the window. He asked me to roll down the window on my right-hand side of my truck.
This is where he met Indrid Cold. He came up, pulled off the side of the highway. His ship parked in front of him here. He asked about the lights of the city. He approached from the right-hand side of the vehicle.
He would have been on this side.
He was going up along there.
But there was something strange about standing where I was standing, because that's where Indrid was standing. Indrid came to that side of the car. He stood on that side of the car, looking at the trees that were blocking out the city and seeing that glowing orange behind it. It was very strange. It felt like a meeting place. Even just the idea of like reading these stories and hearing the stories and then standing there in that spot and looking around and seeing exactly what was described.
And this man stood there, and he first asked me what I was called. And he asked me, he said, why are you frightened? He said, don't be frightened, we wish you no harm. He said, we mean you no harm, we wish you only happiness. And I told him my name, and when I told him my name, he said he was called Cold. He appeared very courteous and friendly. And after I talked with him a while, he told me he would see me. He said, we will see you again, and he left in his vehicle.
Yeah, I was a 4-year-old little girl, and I was always Daddy's girl. And I always waited up for Dad, and that night he came in, and he walked right past me, and he looked white as a sheet. And Dad never walked right past me. I mean, he walked right past me like I wasn't even there. And went into the kitchen and started talking to Mom and about his experience, and she was afraid he'd scare us, so she sent us up to our room, my brother and I. And of course I snuck back downstairs so I could hear everything. And after that, we had all kinds of people coming in the house, and then when he did his interview the next day, there were hundreds, literally hundreds of people. I think half of Parkersburg showed up outside on our yard.
I think above all else, I was really excited to talk to Tanja. And maybe that's just because we're talking to the person who has one of the last links to one of the most famous contactee cases. So the idea that we'd actually get to talk to somebody that was a tangible connection to that case was really exciting to me.
It's been a while since I've heard from Indrid. As I said said yesterday, I saw Connor and Connor. They came into my room here about a month and a half ago to let me know about Indrid's wreck. Well, I had been sleeping, and there was a knock on the door, and they came in, and of course I was very upset when they gave me that message, and they were very upset. So we all kind of hugged each other and cried for a while, and luckily we don't have many aides on the floor at night. So it's not like anybody would have come into my room.
What were the details that you know about the accident?
The only thing that I know is that he, Demo, Hassan, and Karl Ardo were all in a ship chasing some humanoids, and they crashed into the humanoid ship, and basically it kind of both ships burst into flames, and the boys didn't really, I don't think the boys were told a whole lot, even though they were older. I think as time goes by, they'll be able to open up more to me. But they were pretty upset.
Do you think they're gone?
I don't know if they're gone or if they're just... The boys think that they're gone.
Do you think they died? Did they pass away?
Yeah, I think they... The boys have me convinced that they did. So I don't know if that's just something so that he can, get out of existence for a while, or if it's true. Like I said, I'm sure the boys will open up to me more as time goes by.
What is your opinion on what happened? What do you think the truth is?
I don't know. I know for a long time Indrid wanted to just get out of everything. So
you think there might be a possibility that he and the crew faked their deaths?
There might be.
She said that Indrid and his crew had died in a ship crash, that they were chasing humanoids and the ships collided and exploded. And she believed that that's possibly the end of Indrid Cold. Another detail that she volunteered that we didn't have to ask was the two visitors that she received in the middle of the night to give her the bad news were actually Indrid's sons, Connor and Connor.
I think it was like 3 weeks ago was the last time that Connor and Connor had actually visited her. And she told us that, they had visited her many times, and she was able to kind of give us some physical descriptions. They look like normal people that we would never necessarily know them if we happened to glance at them. One of them has dark hair. One of them has blonde hair. They're nice. They're well-rounded boys, I think was the equivalent of what she had said at some point. So, and that they come and they visit her and they spend time with her and they care enough about her to, that she would have been one of the first people that they would have come to tell that Indrid had passed away.
Indrid's visitation happened here. the Mothman happened here. There's tons of UFO sightings, the Flatwoods Monster, and many, many more obscure cases happen what seems to be in this tri-state area. What do you think it is about here that it seems like that draws them? What is it?
It's the Appalachian Mountains, because they can hide. There's a lot of places there to hide, and it's, very heavily wooded. And that's what Indrid actually told me one time, is that, I said, well, if you wanted to go hide, where would you go hide? And that's what he told me. He said, I'd go to the mountains.
If we wanted to send a message to, Indrid, he may have passed away, he may be in hiding, but to him or even his sons that have taken over, how do we do that? What would be the best way?
Through me. Because with the holidays coming, I believe they'll be by.
Do you find that they stop by, are there specific holidays that they come by, or is it every holiday? Or just a few?
They came by last year when I was in a nursing home in Northeast Ohio. Christmas, my birthday, Mother's Day.
Oh, even Mother's Day?
Mother's Day, yeah.
Wow. If it's the best way to give them a message, would you mind delivering a message to Indrid's sons
for us?
Of course not. And so Greg and I were left with one of the coolest and oddest tasks that we've ever had in our lives. And Greg and I, as everybody's leaving the room, we have a little piece of paper in which we need to write down a message to the aliens. And we had to sit and think about what we wanted to say to them, in hopefully a way that they would understand that if this is actually happening, we have to accept that this could actually be happening. The Colds family could be visiting Tanja, and if they see this, we wanted to say the right thing.
If I could only have asked Tanja one question, it would have been, how do we contact the Cold family? That probably would have been what I'd go with, because it seemed to be the most relevant to the case. As the name Indrid kept coming up, with the idea that Indrid might be gone, maybe training new people to take over whatever his mission was, still, even now, how do we contact the Cold family? Or how do we get contacted by the Cold family? That's the big question.
Do you think that Connor and Conard are real?
I don't know what to think about any of it anymore. I almost feel like I've had to separate my brain into two sections where I'm running an A/B test for reality. What is the world like if Connor and Conard are real? And what does the world look like if they were just made up? How do we take the case either way? And I feel like that's something we've had to do constantly since the beginning of this. We have to sit there and go, what does it mean for us and the case if David is real? What does it mean if he's not? What does it mean if Terry Rist is actually out there doing this stuff? And what if it's just a pseudonym for Alan Greenfield, who needed an avenue to write about something he couldn't write about normally? So I don't know. I guess that's my long-winded way of saying I don't know if Connor and Conard are real, but I have to live in two realities.
And I think at the end of the day, what we each think individually isn't important. Because I think the contactee movement, like the experiences that these contactees have, you'd run around in circles forever trying to figure out if each one is lying totally or partially, or if they're being true or not. Like, at the end of the day, for me, it's about looking at patterns and looking at information gathered that they couldn't have known or probably didn't know. It's the bigger picture type stuff. So I think that spending too much time fretting over whether or not the details of what Tanja is saying are true or not is less important than the bigger picture.
So after we met with Tanja and we had all of that information that she dumped on us about Indrid Cold, we decided to look at the other side of Indrid Cold. It's important that we recognize that there are really different characterizations between Woodrow Derenberger's Indrid Cold and Terry Rist's Indrid Cold. Right. You read through both of these things, and Derenberger is saying this story that's honestly pretty pleasant. He's an innocent explorer who comes from a land much weaker than ours. We're just here to visit, and we just ran into you. You seem like a nice guy, so we're gonna, tell you some things you should tell your government and people in power. That's the basic story there. And there's the Indrid Cold that Terry Rist apparently came into contact with, who's this secretive, almost kind of military-esque figure who's hiding out. Indrid Cold is a fugitive along with his crewmates. He's a fugitive on the run. That they created and enhanced a lot of the window area of the Mothman case as a distress signal that there's weird things on you, and they're trying to get away, and then he's sitting here giving really coded messages to different people.
The interview in the back of Greenfield's book was all about this secret magical cipher that you could apply to these alien contactee encounters and crack this code and figure out a bigger picture at work. So I dove into the cipher myself. I tried to figure out what it was all about. It was complex without the use of a computer code. It was challenging to do by hand and to do that math for every single word or phrase that you pull out of the book. But I did learn how it works. Cipher aside, without even knowing how to work the cipher, they give all the clues that you need in the interview between Greenfield and Rist about where he met Indrid Cold. With the internet today, that should be pretty easy to find. So I tried to crack it.
Greenfield says, good stuff, what does it all mean? He says, like I said, I'm leaving out other values that I used in order to protect Mr. Cold, but from this I began looking near the Ohio-West Virginia line, the Mothman area, for a church. 112 also yields All House of God, with a graveyard adjacent, and the dead, near the Kentucky-Ohio-West Virginia border, along U.S. Highway 52, near a location where Mothman had literally been sighted flapping across Highway 52. I found such a church next to a restaurant called the Wagon Wheel, the Wheel, with a churchyard on the other side and an address related to IM 49 Place. I won't be more specific. There was one little ramshackle house with words and signs all over it about colds and stars and the like. So you just walked up to the door? Yep, walked up to this dude. I said, Mr. Cold, I presume? He smiled and said, my friends call me Indrid. So he says, I won't be more specific. I don't know how he could be more specific. He gives so much information.
We could try to find it.
We could try to find it. And that's what I was trying to do. Because he gives all these clues. The biggest one being, he gives this tri-state intersection. Ohio, West Virginia, Kentucky. So I continued and I was like, look, we've got this restaurant called the Wagon Wheel at the tri-state area, Ohio, Kentucky, West Virginia. That should be Googleable. So I've been trying and trying.
Finally, after a little bit of work, I found an obituary for a Mary Hall, who had said she and her husband owned Hall's Wagon Wheel restaurant. And then, fatedly enough, it provides the exact intersection in the town where they own the restaurant.
On 17th Street and Greenup Avenue in Ashland, Kentucky. This obit gives the exact cross street of where this old restaurant used to be.
Wow.
Presuming it might be the one that's referenced. So I start looking around on Google Earth and going down this whole rabbit hole. And I find this intersection of Ashland, Kentucky, where this thing was supposed to be. Now what's tough is it's not gentrified, but it's pretty modern. There's a Verizon store right down the street. And if this happened in the 80s, we're starting to talk about maybe 4 decades ago almost at this point, 3 to 4 decades. So it's gonna look really different. Part of me wants to go down to Ashland and try to find some sort of historian or librarian or something that could try to help us figure out what that intersection was like in the 80s. and if there might have been a ramshackle house there.
Karl's research probably got me the most amped up because that's like tangible, real leads that we could follow, and no one has figured that out. No one has put that information together, and it felt like I ready to go. Like I wanted to be there. I wanted to go and like walk around the streets and like poke around and just look for anything.
The minute we got into Ashland, we just started driving around. Karl had a pretty good idea of the intersection that this should have happened on. So we go to the intersection, we look around, doesn't look like there's anything that could be the wagon wheel. Everything's closed. We noticed there's a police station. It seemed like it had always been sort of a city center, but it was obvious they had built things during that time period. So all these different things lined up. It seemed perfect. It felt right. We all had the vibe that like, this is the place. And it felt like a nicer place than I expected it to. When we got there, it felt like a really nice place.
Highway 52 is the other side of the river right there.
Okay. I found a church next to a restaurant called the Wagon Wheel, with a churchyard on the other side.
The Wagon Wheel was 17th Street in Greenup.
That's the next one.
Is this a thing at 17th? Mark. So I think it's that next intersection down there.
Walk down there?
Yeah.
But the one thing that I thought was really interesting is going from their discussion, "We are one, thy wife, letter, words and signs, ink and black, all house of God, the wheel, I am 49 place, and as you noted, cross 52 I flap." Most all of those, they explain how those applied. There's one or two that don't, and one of the ones that don't is letter. And right like half a block down the street at this intersection is the old U.S. Post Office of Ashland, Kentucky. And it's a really old stone building that has clearly been there for like 70, 80, 100 years. That would have been there in the 80s for sure. And so that's one of the things that isn't discussed in this is how letter fits into him finding Indrid Cold. It's an old post office right there. That could be another indicator of this being the right intersection.
I don't know if we're gonna find too much out until we start asking people.
Yeah,
But I
agree.
think you nailed the place. It feels right. It feels right. Like it feels really promising, Karl. What do you think, Dana?
It feels weird. It has a vibe, for sure.
What kind of vibe?
Like a Shangri-La. That kind of feeling. A bit like dreamy. Like you found a pocket.
I'll spend the night in the killer's bed. Gonna spend some time in her head. Well, I'm here to talk to the dead, and I'll spend the night.
And I read through this a few times again last night, and I'm still impressed and convinced that if there is a place where Terry Wrist was, and where he met Indrid Cold, that we're here. It's honestly a very specific set of waypoints for that time period.
I think we go down, probably park right where we parked last night, looking around over by the old post office, and literally just start walking into places.
Well, if Indrid Cold or Alan Greenfield was here just shooting this, and or Terry Wrist was here, we're trying to find it. And who knows where that'll lead, but we'll try.
Well, we just can't explain, and we'll spend the night.
So the next day, we get up and we just start asking around. The police station was closed, so we couldn't get in there. Fortunately, there was a policeman who was stopping to go in, and he was super friendly. I approached him. I just kind of asked him some questions. He didn't know where the wagon wheel was, and then he stopped and he goes, "But I will tell you this. I don't like talking bad about Ashland, but we have an incredibly high rate of mentally ill people."
I asked him, what, do you guys get weird reports quite often, things like that? And he's like, no, I know other towns around the vicinity, they get them, like UFO reports and stuff like that, but we don't get much of that stuff. He said, but I will tell you there is one really weird thing about Ashland. The mental health is out of control in Ashland to a strange degree. But he said he doesn't know of any weird stuff. Again, Hellier vibes, again. Don't know of any strange sightings or anything like that. Mental health is an issue. Let's go to the library. It'll be open within 4 minutes of us getting there. And we can start digging.
That's kind of the thing that I learned about Ashland, was that it's got this really weird vibe to it. It's got these strange old ancient burial mounds right in the city's central park. Back in the 30s, the University of Kentucky concluded that there was more evidence of prehistoric occupation in Ashland than any other city in all of Kentucky. Charles Manson even spent a few years here as a little kid after being born in Cincinnati. It's got this kind of weird vibe to it.
The newspaper was closed, the police office was closed, which left us with the library. Dana and Tyler were pouring through old photos that were arranged by streets. The lady told us where to find the different records for the different businesses by year. So we just started pulling out different years. Connor and I sat at the end of the table and looked through different business records for that intersection, trying to find any mention of the name Wagon Wheel.
That's the impression I got.
And like magic, looking over our shoulder, Karl goes, "Here it is. It's the wagon wheel."
Oh, I got it. Hall's Wagon Wheel Restaurant.
You found it?
It's in 74.
That's not here in 79. Hall's Wagon Wheel was there the next year. This was the last year it was there, 78.
So we have verification that it was there in 78.
Looks like
really
78.
close to our timeline.
Yep, because it's not there in 70 and 79.
The exact address.
We have the exact address.
123.
123.
17th Street. 123 by numbers.
Karl's number.
And that moment when we actually Karl found it, it was awesome. It was that moment where you're like, holy crap, this is like all actually happening. This is a real, we're really, we keep saying about like we were in the shit then. Like it was that moment when we were 100% investigating. We were 100% kind of boots on the ground. And I love that kind of stuff.
We know exactly where that was. We can go stand outside of it. Why don't we put these back and just go out and see it and just take a spin?
So we knew in a 4-year period of time, the wagon wheel existed right there. We had the exact address, and we could go there. And we did. We took a walk.
Police department address. I can tell you for sure that the bank is 344.
So we are going the right. Yeah. So it has to be. I'm telling you what. It's probably that little red building we were looking at before. It makes me wonder if maybe there was another building
on the other side.
This is 123 17th Street.
123 17th Street.
.201. It has to be over there. Whoa, you know what?
There's a church down there.
That little red building in the back has a door facing this way.
I was joking. I was like, oh, I see that building.
130.
What's the address there? Do you see? It might not exist anymore.
Yeah, but punch it into the GPS and see where it would.
101.
Doesn't exist anymore.
It was here. Here? Which means if there was a house next to it, they would have torn the house down too.
Yep.
And with the help of a few Ashland locals she talked to online, my sister Michelle was able to get a hold of a picture of the wagon wheel that sure enough confirmed its location right next to the flood wall. She was also sent some pictures of aerial sand-borne maps, and then right next to it are some small Ds that indicate the possibility of dwellings. Now those maps were seen in the 50s, but in the 60s the dwellings aren't marked there. So it's possible that they're not there anymore and weren't there at the time. The location of this house remains a mystery.
So this parking lot. This parking lot is where it would have been, right?
Right here.
That pavement.
Vacant.
I mean, this is it right here.
This is absolutely where the wagon wheel was, for a fact.
One of the biggest implications of the fact that the wagon wheel existed there and that this hit every checkbox, it was the place, was that it lended credibility to the idea that Terry Rist, whoever he was real. Someone was there because they knew all the details. Terry Rist is a person. He exists. Who that person is anyone's guess at this point. We have ideas, but he was there. He's a real person.
You would look in one direction and there's something that he said was going to be there. You know, there's the restaurant. Here's where Indrid potentially was. All of those things lined up.
And not only did that lend credibility to the idea that Terry Rist was not just something someone was making up, it led credibility to the cipher.
There was just a few clues that weren't quite fitting. We couldn't find record of a churchyard, the cemetery beside a church, right? We couldn't find record of that, and that kind of bugged me. But it wasn't until we left that I started thinking about it all, that I realized we've got all these things that match. This is an area right on the tri-state border, as they mentioned. They saw Mothman in Ashland. The wheel could well be the Wagon Wheel restaurant, which was right there. There's churches all over that area, so All House of God definitely seems to fit. We took kind of the leap with Letter being the old US post office that's been right there for like 100 years. But if we want to go further, some of the other ones we have is Of the Law. The Ashland City building is right there on the corner of the same intersection. But if we want to take a couple of kind of extrapolations here, we don't want to go too crazy, but perhaps Words and Signs, which is a kind of a classic Masonic phrase, maybe that actually refers to the Masonic Lodge a couple of blocks away. And Inn the Dead might actually not be a graveyard. It could be referring to the famous Adena burial mounds that are in the city park in Ashland. What this tells us was that all of these clues added up to 112. All these clues were pulled from the Book of the Law, as Greenfield says was how you should use the cipher. And they almost all pointed towards this area specifically. The amount of effort alone just to make up a story like this is significant. And that is what I find most compelling.
Oh, no! Unbelievable. It keeps popping up over and over again. We found photographs in the archives of it.
I checked an hour ago. He still hasn't seen it. We look down, and Parsons. But we continued to see the name Parsons all over the place. Parsons pop up in Derenberger's book, who's the name of the police chief back in the day in Point Pleasant. It felt significant. It was a weird synchronicity.
So we're not just, and I don't know if this makes you feel unsettled or validated, but we're not just checking the validity of Indrid Cold. We're checking the validity of Terry Rist.
Right.
And the details check out.
He's someone. Yeah. Someone wrote that.
That he was someone who was here.
He's someone.
There was an eerie point in time when we were walking down this linear path, hitting all these pinpoint locations that Rist seems to have detailed in his interview. And I had the sudden realization that we were literally walking in the footsteps of Terry Rist. And it was a chilling thought, because it made me think, how much further are those footsteps going to lead?
Aside from finding somebody who can literally show us where the house was, the only other good thing we can get is Terry himself saying, oh yeah, Ashland was the place.
Mm-hmm.